Hey everyone, this is Shinmiri and welcome to Aretuza Academy. Today I'll be talking about the differences between Gwent and other collectible card games you might have played before. If, for example, you've played Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering, you already have a good start on getting a grasp of Gwent, but there are some key differences. So first of all, the biggest difference is that there are no life totals in Gwent. You're not racing to set the opponent's health to 0. That's not the win condition. In Gwent, you want to try to win 2 out of 3 rounds by accumulating more points than your opponent. There's also no combat. Units or creatures don't fight each other exactly, but there are a lot of skills and abilities that interact between your cards and their cards on the board, so it still makes for very interesting gameplay. In terms of game length, because there's no health system, you're never going to get the super fast games like in Hearthstone where an aggro deck just kills you in a few turns. You're also not going to get the super drawn out long games between a control archetype and another control archetype, and you'll have like 30 or 40 minute games that end up with both players running out of their cards. It's very rare. Another key difference is that there's no in-game resource system in Gwent. Well, what I mean by that is there's nothing like lands or mana for Magic the Gathering. There's no mana crystals in like Hearthstone. So you're not restricted in when you can play certain cards. If you want to, you could start off the game by slamming down your strongest card. Nothing's going to stop you, except perhaps the opportunity cost of not being able to use that card in future rounds. There's also very little card draw in Gwent. You're going to be drawing some cards at the start of round 2 and start of round 3, but within a round, very few cards will allow you to draw cards during the round. So you have to plan ahead and use your resources as efficiently as possible. Even a 1 card advantage going into round 3 can make a really big difference in the outcome of the game. When it comes to the board, Gwent board is a little bit different from some of the other card games that you might have played. There's going to be 2 rows on each side, each player's side, and there's the melee row and the range row. Positioning is very important in Gwent. Certain cards have special abilities depending on which row you place them in. There's going to be interaction between a card and its adjacent cards in some cases, and there are going to be cards that affect an entire row. So it becomes a game of risk-reward on how you want to position your units, and it becomes very strategic in a sense. You can stack all of your units in one row to prevent both rows from getting hit by something, or you can spread out the units separately. Each deck in Gwent has a leader, and you may be familiar with the leader concept from something like Hearthstone. And leaders in Gwent can have many different abilities, varying from a one-time ability or a passive that affects your cards throughout the entire game. The leader also determines how many card redraws, also known as mulligans, that you get for the entire game. And the leader's ability is usually something, in most cases, something that you build your deck around, and it defines your archetype or your strategy. So when you play an opponent with a certain leader, it already gives you a little glimpse into what their deck and strategy might be. So moving on to deck building, Gwent has similar deck building experience to some of the games that you may have played. Like Hearthstone, you have to comprise your deck of cards from one faction plus the neutral faction, and you can only add 2 copies of any bronze card to your deck and 1 copy of any gold card. The biggest difference and the most innovative part of Gwent deck building is the provision system. This is something pretty unique to the collectible card game genre. A provision system is something that limits how many good cards you can put into your deck. So each card in the deck builder has a provision cost, and the total sum of your provisions that you're allowed to put into your deck can't exceed a certain number. So you'll have to make the most of your resources, try to squeeze out every ounce of synergy that you possibly can without going over that provision cap. Think of it as something like a unit cap, or in something like Warhammer, or a salary in your fantasy football draft. Finally, in summary, Gwent really pushes the boundaries of what a collectible card game can be. There are no life totals in combat or combat system. There's no resource system restricting when you can play certain cards. There's 2 rows for highly tactical gameplay, several leaders per faction for varied gameplay, and a provision system creates a unique deck building challenge. Thank you all for watching this video and hope you guys come back to the Aretuza Academy soon. I'm Shinmiri, thanks again.